to the Nerdiverse. Go ahead, sit and listen to the masters, the old heads, talk about what you love the most. Video games, comics, movies, and everything you need to maintain your week. Got the knowledge that's straight out the ether. Gonna need a drink and have to take a seat to expand your mind and listen to the speaker. Mike and the squad's gonna give you what you need. Please send in a question, come and get some answers, learn a couple lessons from the masters with the special guests. We got the Green Lanterns glowing on their chest. Yes, please sit back and relax, cause we're gonna hit you with them stone cold facts. And allow me to be the very first to welcome you to the masters of the Nerdiverse. Welcome to MOTN Reviews. This is Masters of the Nerdiverse Reviews, where we take a look at some of cinema's most shiniest supernovas and some that are not so brightly lit. I'm, of course, your host, Mike G, and I am happy to bring back to the show one of the shiniest supernovas that the Earth has ever created, outside of the one that will eventually destroy the planet. But we'll get there when we get there. Austin, how's it going, sir?
It is that one guy who gets too much into D&D. That man who talks too much about anime and deep memes. It is I, the Lord of Dorkness, Austin Aussie.
He is Austin Aussie, dudes. You guys don't understand what's happening right now. This is like Hulk Hogan and Macho Man Randy Savage making the superpowers.
Christ, if I could have like the facial features of the facial hair of like Hulk Hogan or Macho Man, I'd be a lot happier, honestly. I get like little patches here and there to like constantly groom. It's a chore.
Yeah, I've always wanted what I've always called as a kid as a Jesus beard. I want the big puffy, cool looking man beard, but my genetic makeup does not allow this. I get spotchy. I get neck beard. I'm a horrible neck beard, actually. So I can't keep I can't keep that at all, dude. Can't do it. It's nigh impossible. And
you gotta slather on that makeup. Gotta slather on that fake beard, bro.
Oh man, no, I can't have the merkin, dog. I can't
Just get like a blonde beard. Blonde beard, black skin. That's not awkward at all.
No, I walk around looking like Sandy Koufax or something, dog. I can't do it.
Oh Jesus!
I can't live that life, man. I'm not that strong.
Oh, this has gotten off to a great start today about a movie about sharks.
Sharks, yeah. Sandy Koufax once caught a shark, dog. He trained it to love, dude. That's more for his memoirs, dude. So what are we talking about today? We're talking about, honestly, one of my top 3 movies of all time. Actually, now that I think about it, did Jaws make my top 10? It had to. I love this movie so much. We're talking about Jaws.
Jaws, the movie about sharks. It's got black eyes, glassy doll eyes, soulless eyes, a doll's eyes. Oh man, this is one of those movies. This is the movie that was the catalyst for me to get into horror. This movie. To be fair, this movie did a lot of things for a lot of people. Like, it kind of set the standard for summer blockbusters.
Yep.
It set the standard for, the parental guidance movie board, essentially, the rating in general, because that movie changed everything about that. And it gave rise to a whole bunch of shark killings that kind of made things kind of endangered afterwards.
Yeah, it kind of did for sharks what Black Cats did for, like, the Salem witch trials, you know what I mean? Kind of like, like these things are evil. It's just a cat who just wants to snuggle, Doug. But no, the masses didn't deem it so. So this movie was great and horrible. Let's just say it was impactful.
It was very impactful for a lot of reasons. But honestly, I found it really funny as a kid, honestly, if I'm going to be perfectly honest.
This movie was horrifying to me because I was deathly afraid of sharks as a child. My dad, when I was, sons and their fathers, right? I was at this point a appendage of my dad growing up. Loved eat them up, and my dad knew I was afraid of sharks, so he bought a toy shark that squeaked. The old school ones.
Oh God!
So he would sit it on his armchair whenever he wanted some peace and quiet. So I would come running in a little Stormin' Norman. I'm coming. And I would see that shark, and I would do like that meme where the baby does that face and runs back the other way. And my mom got super tired of it and just ended up throwing the toy out. She was like, stop terrorizing my son with this shark doll. and went to Universal Studios, and I shit you not, because we do cuss on the review shows more than, I'm not going to just drop a F-bomb. Maybe later. This show may bring it out of me. But there used to be, I'm not sure if it's still there, Universal Studios Hollywood, a giant replica of Bruce, of the shark.
I think he got retired because he got so old and cost
a ton,
essentially.
Yeah. And that thing, oh my goodness. I remember seeing that for the first time. Like, that's one of those childhood memories that are just burned into your brain. And man, that thing terrified me. Couldn't do it. Can't do it. But after all these years and kind of watching this movie and really taking in what kind of impact it had on me, I love it. It's one of my favorite movies of all time, dude.
It really did a lot. I mean, it's a lot better than the goddamn sequels now, doesn't it?
The shark had revenge on his heart, dog.
It's also like a softcore monster movie for American audiences. You really think about it. Like, it's one of the first, like, where the villain is a legit monster for widespread movie audiences.
And what jacks this movie up, this is what takes it to another level, is that Jaws is real. Like, there's nothing fanciful about the horror in this movie. It's all very realistic. You know what I mean? Like, that Jaws isn't doing backflips and CGI magic tree. He's doing shark stuff. And this actually happens to real people all the time. And that, just knowing that this isn't some alien from some cocoon or some predator that stalks the jungle, something that's not real. You can go and encounter a shark today. You know, you can just be out at the beach and Jaws could happen in real life. And
I mean, to be fair, it's a lot less likely to happen than, you're more likely to get attacked by a deer than a shark.
Yeah. Because we all know that deers are assholes.
Oh God, they're super assholes, especially in rut season. That's bad.
Rut season, don't touch a deer. It looks cute. It doesn't feel cute when that thing gets you. That boy's strong, dog. But yes.
In comparison to me, though, I actually kind of like sharks to this day. I think they're really cool animals. I'm not terrified of them at all. I actually want to go swimming one day with sharks.
Man, sharks are cool. Everything about the shark, just if you researched it, it's one of the most fascinating, marvels of nature, these things,
Oh, yeah. They're cancer resistant. They have ever-growing teeth. They live for a goddamn long time. Isn't like a Greenland shark, I believe, near the North Pole, or like the sea of the North Pole, essentially. They trapped a Greenland shark, a scavenger shark, essentially, at the bottom of the ocean that's been living for like 300 to 400 years.
That's Papa Shark right there, dog.
Yeah, they saw like an old harpoon stabbed into it. They carbon dated it, and it was like, holy crap, this thing's like 300 years old.
That is awesome, dude. That's like, you hear about those blastoids in real life, those turtles that are like huge and live to like 700 years old.
Oh God, yeah, the tortoises on the Galapagos, yeah.
The ancient ones, dog. What other animals gonna do that? Outside of like those stupid worms that did you know that lobsters are pretty much immortal? They just decide to die because they just are tired of doing the whole molting and reborn thing.
Oh yeah, that's like the same thing for a lot of like reptile animals too, like crocodiles and snakes. They can live for maybe a long time, but they get just so big they don't have enough resources to supplement their growth, so they just die of like basically body breaking down from not having enough energy.
That's crazy, dude. Humans are the wackest. If we weren't able to like grab stuff, we probably would still be at the bottom. Not even we wouldn't be at the bottom of the food chain, but especially in the water, like we're still kind of like nigh efficient in the water, man. Even with the advent of boats and aircraft carriers and all that, we're still garbage, dog.
If you ever watched that Discovery Channel documentary about mermaids, we might be related to mermaids.
Mermaids rule, dude. There's mermaids news that's very current, but I don't want to like timestamp this episode. I want this to be evergreen content. So
I could say anything right now just to timestamp this episode.
I know. We've probably already done it. I'm just gonna start singing like a Little Nas X song just to timestamp it. Anyway, let's talk about this movie, man. 1975, Steven Spielberg, the movie that was not supposed to be made. Man, this movie had so many development issues. It's almost legendary how this movie came about.
And it's a 4th of July movie, and we recorded this on the 4th of July. So, hey, works.
So that's the main reason I wanted to do this episode is one, because I've been trying to talk about this movie for a very long time. And it was the 4th of July. And when I think 4th of July, like I have to watch Jaws. It's that between that and Independence Day are like the two 4th of July movies you watch, right? And it's like, you open the beaches? Yes, we open the beaches, but there's a shark. What's a shark? But this movie was so difficult to make that it would have made or broken Steven Spielberg's career, because for one, the shark just didn't work.
Nope.
What they wanted to do with the shark, affectionately named Bruce, is they wanted him way more in the movie. And they wanted him doing cool shark stuff, like akin to E.T. You know what I mean? There's so much E.T. in that movie. Can you imagine if E.T. was like barely visible because just the doll didn't work?
I mean, if they made E.T. a horror movie, it could work out.
Some would say that E.T. is a horror movie, but I digress. So Bruce was this huge animatronic shark where on dry land, propped up, he was great. He hit all his cues, he did little bites, he did all that. But they didn't account that you have to put this machine into salt water. And that just kind of just destroyed all the mechanisms, Doug. So,
yep.
So Bruce
became, like boy, we didn't count for that.
I could just see Steve just on the corner, just like feel me, like, oh shit. all right, guys, let's huddle this up. Let's get in the cuddle puddle. We got to figure this out. So they minimized the shark's visibility, gave you what I would say popularized the POV shot. You know?
Oh yeah, especially that like beginning clip of the movie as well, with the tense music going through the coral reef.
Let's go into that classic scene in Amity Island. Oh, remember at Universal Studios there was the tram ride where you actually got to go through like a flooded Amity, and Jaws attacked the ship, and I cried. Man, this movie terrified me. So there's these two. There's like a bonfire going on, and there's these two young lovers. They're like about to skinny dip at the beach, and the girl is just darting out into the ocean, dude. She's on her way, and the drunk guy's trying to follow her. He's like, "What's your name?" And she's all like, "What?"
So I have notes for this. Music opening from the shark POV. God, this is fantastic. Stupid ass teenagers eyeing each other from across the fire. God, this is stupid. Man chases girl after getting very drunk and falls asleep at the beach while she's attacked. Holy crap, that's stupid.
That's horrifying, dude. Let's talk about the score for a second.
Yes, please.
Let's talk about John Williams for a second, dude. My favorite composer of all time. I got to see him at the Hollywood Bowl, and he did Jaws, and he did Indiana Jones, Star Wars, and it was just this score. At first, Steven didn't like it. He thought it was a joke when he heard that classic, that he's like, no, for real, what's the score? And John Williams was like, this is the score. in his bombastic John Williams voice. And Steve thought for a second, took a shot of bourbon and said, okay, I don't care. We don't have enough money to redo this. Let's just let it rock, dude.
But hey, now we remember John Williams as being everywhere in every major movie at that time too, during that decade, essentially.
Right. And he became the man, dude. He still is the man, dude. The guy is like, he's got to be pushing like 90. And he's still killing it. John Williams is still alive. I would have remembered crying the day John Williams passed away. You know, He's the man. He's my like, the guy is nigh untouchable, dude. The best thing about the Star Wars prequels is Duel of the Fates.
Oh, that's actually very, very true. I will admit that's very true.
But anywho, so the young lady runs into the water. She's skinny dipping and she's just floating out there. And then we get that POV shot of her little kicky legs from under the water.
Oh, you mean where she's completely nude?
Yeah, where you see more than you probably should have in a PG-13 movie.
It's not even PG-13. This movie was rated PG back in the day.
Oh yeah.
So quick little side note. Looking at this last night to review and refresh, essentially, and this society, seeing that as like a PG movie, I was like, huh, how far we've come along. Like it is interesting though how this movie kind of does. It shows some violence and gratuitous gore and whatnot, but it doesn't really show it on camera. It just kind of implies the gore happens.
Yes, there are terrible, horrible things that happen in this movie that are very low key. There isn't a gruesome shot in this movie.
No, which I appreciate a lot more. I'd rather see a naked body compared to a chopped up kibble that is a human being.
Yeah, the little Kittner kid. I don't want to see that. You know what I mean?
Oof, yeah, that Kittner kid. How did I put it on my notes? I'll come to that later. Yeah, I'll come to that later.
Get there. So you start to see her gulp in her do this perfectly timed head bob, like something yanked her hard. You hear that gung, gung, and then you start hearing her hyperventilate and breathe that. He's like, I can't do it because it's too real. And then you start seeing her being dragged from side to side. And the cool thing about that is that they actually used ropes to tie up both her waist, and people on opposite sides of the shot were yanking her back and forth.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's actually really cool.
Yeah, but the thing is that actually caused her permanent damage, and that poor lady had like spine issues for the rest of her life, based upon the filming of that shot. But yeah, that's how they did that effect. They pretty much tied a rope to her foot, one rope around her waist to the left, one rope around her waist to the right, and there were people off camera yanking the crap out of her, like almost like drawing quartering her to get that shot. They would pull to the right, or she would sway to the right and scream. They would pull to the left, and then it would get that final dunk that, oh, please, God, help me. And she just, and it's just quiet. And that was that for her. That whole shot was done, of course, all practical effects, because this, ladies and gentlemen, is before CGI. And I thank the Lord every single day.
It's got to be practical effects or nothing. Oh, I will say I made a little note here because I was looking up facts about Jaws as I was watching the movie last night.
Yeah.
In the book, there was like several different versions they're going to call the book possibly. They're looking at different titles like Leviathan Rises or Jaws of Death and whatnot. And honestly, that would have made a big difference for people going to see the movie, I think, because Leviathan Rises sounds biblical in nature.
Yeah, I think it would have set a different tone, you know what I mean, for the film. And Jaws is just the perfect name.
It's simple enough to get across the message, what's going to happen.
What's happening. And then that iconic poster of the kids playing on top and just seeing this megalodon coming at them. So, I'm trying to think of the next scene. It's the next scene where
Brody wakes up in bed.
Brody wakes up in bed with his wife, and you kind of get to see this everyman sheriff who's actually transported from New York. I think it's where he said. Was it New York?
It was New York. He was from the he's from the East Coast. I think his wife was from Boston because she's like, it's not very far. You got to get the car
from the harbor.
Yeah. My mother-in-law speaks like that actually because she's from Rhode Island.
Nice. I love that accent. You want to go to the store? Get me some car parts from the store. I'm sorry.
Hey, go park the car.
Why did you park the car, Larry? So no, everyone hates us now. So total brain.
So Brody wakes up.
Brain aneurysm.
He has like his little, I'm an old man, 1975 with my wife kind of dialogue, and their kids are out playing in the backyard, and he gets breakfast. Then his son Michael comes in and is like, hey, look, I got hit by a vampire, and his like bleeding hand. It's like, kid, one, if you get hit by a vampire, you're fucking stupid in the first place. Two, get bit by a vampire, it's on your neck. What are you, a stupid kid? God, this kid's stupid.
I love that kid, dude. That would be some dumb shit I would say to my mom. Oh, I got bit by a vampire. What the hell happened to you?
And that's what Brody does. It's like, what? What are you doing? What?
And then the other kid is like, yeah, he cut his hand on the bike chain or on the swing chain is what happened, right?
I think the best thing about child actors is when they're like at that youngest stage, like their younger child is, when he's like 2 or 3 years old. You should let them do what they want to do, because honestly, that's what 2 or 3 year olds act like. They act like little babies because that's what they are.
The kids are very good in this movie, actually, because they're not. You don't feel like they're acting. You know what I mean? Like they're just like doing kid stuff, especially like the warm up scene where Brody's getting ready to go to work. You know, and like you said, there's just a ton of blood on this kid's hand. I'm like, jeez, why is he so chill about this? The little kid is weird. Little monster kid in the making. So they actually is that after that part where they pretty much find the missing girl or something like that. I forget how that goes.
Yeah, so he gets some kind of notice from his like deputy. They go along the beach, and then his other deputy, I believe, just starts whistling like mad, and they start running down the beach, and like off camera shots, Brody and his assistant essentially kind of like come and stop to say, and just like, oh my god. And the other dude's on the beach, kind of like sitting down, with like spittle running down his mouth, just like looking disgusted with himself.
1,000-yard stare, just kind of staring at the situation because parts of her came back on shore. Right?
Yeah, they're washed up on shore with like seaweed and crabs are already there eating the body and whatnot. But it's just off screen enough. You don't see anything besides just a withered looking hand, which is actually a really good touch, honestly.
Yeah, very subtle. There's one thing I could say about Spielberg. He has when he needs to, has a very deft hand. And this movie is like, what could Spielberg do on a budget? Because this movie had a ton of money thrown at it, but
it also burned a lot of money. To be fair,
it burned a lot. This movie was 2 seconds. It was a elven hair away from not being made or just being trashed because it just wasn't working. So then Brody starts to research and going. He kind of sees the medical examiner's ruling that it was shark attack. You know what I mean? And
I love in The Office, he's like doing all this, like typing on the typewriter, and there's like there's that finality of the scene where he just says, cause of death, shark, attack. Meanwhile, his assistant's telling him, oh, well, those kids are just karate chopping the fence line. You got to take care of that, Brody. And then like 20 freaking citizens are in his office telling him, someone parked their car in front of my farm. You got to take that car out of the way, Brody. It's like, holy crap, you people have no lives.
Nothing else is going on, man. There hasn't been a murder in Amity for 25 years. Nothing's going on. And this guy's gone from the mean streets of New York with street toughs and stabbings to get that lawnmower off my lawn.
God. And of course, as soon as Brody gets the call from the medical examiner, he runs out to go see him and the mayor. Mm-hmm. And whoop-de-doop, they're back with the mayor, talk with the medical examiner. Medical examiner just goes, so I was wrong. It was actually a boat propeller that killed the child, killed the woman.
Sorry. And this is after he talked to the mayor.
And oh my God, the mayor feels like the most used car salesman like mayor ever.
I love the mayor. The mayor is he is the quintessential, like, just, head in the sand, doesn't want to even understand what's going on because it may break apart this gentle kind of symmetry he has with this town.
Exactly. The man just like, oh my God, what was it I put in my notes? Shark attack. Now we need swimmers, man. We need swimmers. I imagine it's like a 1920s smuggler accent. Like, we don't need no sharks. We need swimmers. We need swimmers. We need fresh bodies in those waters, my man. We need fresh bodies.
Yeah, he was like, Amity's a summer town. People come from all around to come to Amity because Amity, as you know, means friendship.
Yeah, and this is like the first thing you see where the mayor is just like so obstinate he refuses to accept reality.
Yeah, man. And then he goes off on something else, like, because they're going down to the beach and the mayor sees the classic like graffiti of the am I jumping ahead?
You're jumping ahead.
Okay, my bad. So the mayor pretty much says, this is a summer town. We're not going to be closing any beaches. I know you want to investigate this, but you have to investigate it with the beaches open. This town needs that economy, otherwise the town will die. So figure it out, right?
Yep.
Brody's just like, geez Louise.
God, right? And so from there, though, we see Brody goes down to the beach with his wife and kids. There's like a whole good of fun. Brody's kind of like parroting, kind of like Seahawk watching the beach. And there's like little things here and there, people coming up to him, talking to him.
Yeah.
Old man with like A-cup boobs, kind of like dropping down to his knees as well.
Yeah. That's some bad hat, Harry.
Yeah. And then, of course, there's finally like a real shark attack. And there's like that dramatic, very dramatic camera zoom from far away to Brody's face as he just sits up really rigidly.
Dude, it's so low key. It's so subtle. Like, you just see people play with the water. You see like maybe a millimeter of a fin and just a gush of blood in the water.
Yep.
And that
Kittner kid is a dead kid.
That he got it pretty hard. That Kittner kid. We don't even know. We don't even get like a body, right? They discover his body.
There is no body. It's just, from what I watched on Amazon the other day, it just says subtitles, Alex screams. Wow. And like then everyone else starts screaming as they run away from the shark water.
Yeah, everyone's just like, what is going on?
It's good enough that it doesn't show you anything about what happened, but there's just enough real threat to portray to the audience that something is seriously wrong.
This is a problem now. And I have to ask, is it the mother's fault for being so upset with Brody? Or is the mother at fault for being so upset with Brody because he, quote unquote, knew there was a shark problem before that day, but he didn't fight hard enough with the mayor to close the beaches? You think there's some validity to that?
No. It's a yes and no problem because she gets mad at him later on because she thinks he knew about the shark attack but kept it quiet for the money. But he was convinced by the mayor that it's just a one-time problem from a boat propeller, so he bought into it. Mm-hmm. Not until later that he knows that he was wrong for sure. So that doesn't really come up till later on.
But that doesn't come up till later on. So now they're starting to get the idea, like, yeah, we have a legit shark problem.
And after that attack happens, there's like Miss Kittner running on the beach yelling for Alex's name. His floaty washes up with a big shark bite out of it.
Yeah.
And it transitions right away to City Hall with like a $3,000 bounty check for the shark.
Yes. And everyone's screaming and freaking out. And the mayor's trying to disarm the situation. And you see all these fishermen just kind of floating around. And then we get the introduction to to Quint. I would say this film's if this film had to have an antagonist, it's not the shark. The shark is doing shark stuff. I think the film's antagonist is the mayor, but Quint is something else. I don't know how to classify Quint.
Quint's basically a rogue. The mayor can be seen as like the primary antagonist for a little bit, but Quint is like the he's kind of like the anti-hero.
He's the X Factor.
Yeah. He's a unique case, but as soon as everyone's in the office talking about how they're going to try to bury the story in the newspaper, that the shark isn't really that big a deal, it's a one-time occurrence, Quint just starts screeching his fingernails on the dirty chalkboard.
I was watching this again, and I just realized, why did Quint draw a picture of the shark eating a child on the actual chalkboard in front of his mother?
Well, Quint isn't really a stable person, as the movie makes clear very early on.
And then he has the nerve to be like, "I'm sorry, ma'am." Like, dude, you asshole.
Say sorry.
He doesn't? I thought he apologized to her.
I didn't see that. I've been distracted by something else, but I did not see him apologize to the woman at all. He just said, "Stop arguing. I know how to get this shark. I'll track it down for $3,000 and I'll kill it for $10."
Yeah, he's like, he was like, "I value my neck more than for a lousy $3,000, chief." Like, yeah.
God. And he just makes such an entrance that even the mayor's like, "Well, consider it, Mr. Quint."
Because at first he didn't want to consider it. At first he was just like, whatever. And then later, Brody's like, "No, just pay this man his money, whatever he wants." Because at that point, another the actual waters become just filled with these amateur shark hunters. You know what I mean?
But even then, at this point, the mayor's like, "We got a dead kid in the water. Screw that. I'm not closing down the beach. I want money."
Yeah, he still doesn't want to close the beaches. He's still adamant that we'll find this shark and we're just going to kill it. There's no big deal. Let the beaches stay open. Shark attacks are a freak incident. You know what I mean? Like this shark, and from his understanding, the shark is already eaten. It's gone. You know what I mean? There's nothing to worry about. And Brody's just becoming increasingly frustrated with the bureaucracy of this mayor who's constantly blocking him to do what needs to be done right. You know what I mean? So
it's so ridiculous seeing this play out still, how it is the mayor being unapologetically flippant and defiant in the face of facts.
Yes, and this is where we actually begin, hopefully I'm not jumping too far ahead, to the introduction of Matt Hooper, played by Richard Dreyfuss.
Before that, I believe we get a nighttime shot, or is that afterwards, of two idiots at the boat dock, right?
I think because Matt Hooper investigates that, the aftermath of that. Oh, right. Yes.
So two idiots, one of them named Charlie, go at the crack of dawn to tie a hunk of roast to a fish hook to a chain to the dock.
Right.
To a rubber tire floaty.
That's
this
the plan,
is the
dude.
worst fish bobber I have ever seen. And guess what? It gets about 40 yards out. It gets taken away, and then the dock just breaks because the shark's
That's so stupid.
And there's that fake out where the guy Charlie is flubbering in the water. He starts swimming back, and the dock is out in the water floating, and because it's attached to the shark, it just turns around and starts beelining for Charlie, which is actually a pretty cool effect, honestly. It's really nice.
Yeah.
And Charlie just gets up on the dock that's left over with his friends before being not killed.
In the nick of time.
At the very end, he just says, "Can we go home now?"
Yeah, it's time to go at that point, man. You're playing around. You're playing around with forces you don't understand.
And of course, after that, all the fishermen gossip, and they all figure out what happened. And so next morning, Brody's having a heart attack as basically an entire fleet of fishermen are overloading boats, getting together, arguing, waving weapons around as they go off and try to go hunt a shark.
And he's just like, hey, man, can you go talk to some of these people? You can't load up boats like that. They're going to kill themselves before they even get a chance to kill a shark. They're throwing live dynamite into the water. Just doing all sorts of crazy stuff.
Brody comes in. He's like, hey, guys, don't do that. And they're like, yeah,
get out of here. You don't know what you're talking about.
And he's just like, okay, they're all going to die.
He's like, they're all going to die. He's like, you want to help me with this? He's like, oh, you're the guy we called in for. Because then he goes and talks to Brody. And Brody's like, who is this guy? He's like, oh, no, this is the oceanographer you requested. He's like, oh, man. And they just immediately click up. And then that's the dynamic for the rest of the film, is pretty much those two. And after that shot, we get the open mouth shot, which looked real. That wasn't real, right? The shot of the tiger shark, I think looks super real as a kid.
I think it was a fake dummy because I didn't think they wanted to get in trouble for hunting sharks.
Real sharks, right? There's no way that was real. So the fishermen land a pretty big, formidably sized tiger shark, and they bring it up onto the dock, and everyone's rejoicing, "Give me my money!" That kind of situation.
And Brody's like, "Yeah, that's a tiger shark. Small bite radius, though.
This cannot be our shark." And the mayor's convinced because this is what he needed. No, that's the shark. It's over. We did it.
Oh, and before that scene, though, they had actually gone off to the morgue, and Brody had examined the body. And at that point, he had actually told the mortician, the medical examiner, "This is a shark attack. You're an idiot."
Yeah, this is no boating accident, and he needed a cup of water because he was checking. Dreyfuss was checking out the body. He was getting mortified from the parts. He was like, "Yeah, this is no boating," and that's So he's like, "Can I get a cup of water, please?" Because he's about to earl because he's looking at this decaying body.
And at that point, the sheriff Brody just goes, "Oh boy, this is more real than I thought it'd be."
Yeah, he was like, "You have a serious shark problem," and then
of course they go kill the tiger shark. Everyone's rejoicing, happy fun times. Hooper throws shade. Mayor isn't happy, doesn't want to cut the shark open. Brody's like, Then Miss Kittner comes along. She slaps Brody. Everyone's real quiet. Everyone's real depressed, and they don't do anything for us today.
Yeah, he was like, "Look, I understand that you want to prove me wrong, but the worst thing that we can have right here is you cut open that shark and that little Kittner boy just spills out over the dock. Nobody wants to see that, man."
God, that mayor is so good at dodging.
He was like, "Nobody wants to see that right now, dude. His mom is right there."
I will say, as a side character, Miss Kittner actually plays a pretty good, convincing, grieving mother.
Yeah, she killed it. She literally killed it. And she was righteous in her anger. You know what I mean? Like, her son died due to, jurisdictional neglect. Like
I didn't see anger in her. I just saw like lots of just depression, honestly. No anger, just extreme sadness.
She slapped him, cried. You knew about this, why? Cried, and she walked off. It was just mourning. There was this deep mourning in her betrayal. So that night they go and they get some drinks and they go open up the shark. They take it back to like some kind of warehouse or something. And Hooper cuts open the shark, pulls out like a shoe. He pulls out like a license plate. And he's like, yeah, this thing probably came from the jet stream from Florida and kind of swam its way up. There's no body in here, man. This is not the shark. This is not the shark that did this. You know what? F it. We're just going to go out into the water tonight and see if we can maybe see what we can see what we can find. Right? So they go onto Brody's boat, he literally has night boat. This guy, he has the night boat. He's like, where did all this come from? He has this super boat that they use in all the high tech 70s doodads.
Rich family.
And that's where he goes, like, yeah, I come from money. He's like, oh, okay. He's like, how much do you own? Like, me or the whole family? And he's like, oh shit, that kind of money. It's like he said something real crazy, like you mean me personally or the entire estate? He's like, oh shit, okay, fair enough.
Do you mean me or my rich entire family? Find out next week.
Right.
That kind of stuff.
Are the rest of the Vanderbilts. At
this scene, though, it is pretty cool how they go through. Hooper is like, I don't want to go in that water, but I got to check it out.
Mm-hmm.
Goes underwater where they find a wrecked up ship that's sinking, essentially. And it's someone that Brody knows. God damn it. Someone that Brody knows. Hooper jumps down, looks up, finds a great white shark tooth, and then finds a dude's like decapitated floating head in the bottom of the hull of the boat.
Yeah, one of the fishermen from earlier that were just randomly just going out into the water trying to hunt any kind of shark they could.
And they found it. They certainly found it.
It was a good shot too. It was one of the movie's few jump scares. You know what I mean?
Yes, and they got it really well. Hooper got it really well done with his like intense scream and just like drop everything and run.
Right. Yeah, he was like done. He just swam back up. He had the tooth, but then he lost the tooth in the water.
Yep.
Yeah, man. So,
and of course, next scene, they're stalking the mayor, telling him, "This is a great white shark. This is a great white shark. Stop being an asshole. This is a great white shark. Do something about it."
And that's one of my favorite scenes because they're talking to him, and he's like, "Look, man, this thing is an eating machine. All it ever does is it doesn't eat. It doesn't sleep. It doesn't rest. It just eats. It makes little baby sharks." And then they're walking through, and they see that sign that was vandalized, where they called pretty much Amity Shark City.
And the mayor is just so pissed and tells Brody, go catch these painters real quick.
Yeah, he's like,
you're going to hang the shark threat.
He's like, hang them up by their Buster Browns. and Brody's like, no, look at this photo because these proportions are correct. Like the shark is literally that big.
And of course, Hooper and the mayor are just so at odds with each other, they start dismissing each other entirely. It's just making Brody super just flabbergasted and annoyed with them both.
To the point where Hooper is just laughing. He's just like, I can't with this, man. Like, you're serving up your entire town on a buffet. I'm not going to be privy to it. He's pretty much like, I'm going to leave. Like, I'm just done. Like, whatever you guys want to do at this point. You know, because isn't that around the time where he was like, there's some kind of expedition up in Antarctica he wanted to check out or something like that. He was going to check out.
I believe he mentioned that at the dinner table with Brody and his wife the night before.
Okay, the night before, right. That's another good scene. Them at the dinner table.
Oh, yeah.
And him just killing that glass of wine. Keep it coming.
Brody. So after this little conflict with the mayor, though, they go off. It's 4th of July. All the tourists arrive. And Brody and Hooper try to set up like this entire shark watch while tourists are just everywhere up and down this beach.
Yeah. And it's the worst kind of situation, man. Like, if you really think about it, it's a terrifying situation. You have this hunter that has seemingly endless supply of food, and no one's listening. No one's actually doing anything about it. And the people who want to do something about it are being kneecapped by quote unquote management, man.
Yeah, and this entire time, the mayor is just kind of like looking up and down this beach, and he just goes, "Hey, nobody's swimming. What the heck?
Get in the water." And he's like, "I'm not getting in the water."
He's like, "Hey, I know you person in the village. Go swim a little bit. Go swim a little bit. Come on, go. Just go."
And everyone's just kind of gingerly kind of getting in the water because they're being pressured to get into the water. You know what I mean?
But soon enough, though, that everyone just gets in the water, though.
Yeah. After a while, that ice breaks, and it turns into a normal day, the 4th of July weekend, right? And there's this kid that does a shark prank that kind of sets that red herring, where it's some idiot kids with a fin on their back swimming, and everyone freaks out and runs out the water.
And basically stampedes other people, causing actual bodily harm.
Yeah, it's a big problem. And you see like adults hanging up the kids, and everyone's like, "Oh, okay, false alarm." But then
at least like a few kids got yeeted, just like yeet.
Yep, like 2 or 3 kids got yeeted out that water quick. Right by the nape of their neck, like baby cats. They just got.
Oh God! I love applying memes to movies that don't even know what memes are.
Yeah, you would have said that to Dreyfus, he probably would have just stared at you, dude. But this sets up the perfect setup for Bruce to really come through, and everyone's guard is down. You know what I mean? Because then you hear someone else scream "shark," and everyone's just like, "Oh, it's just people being stupid." You know what I mean? Until because also to set up the scene, Brody's kids are in like this little senior citizen moat that's kind of adjacent to the beach, and because Brody doesn't want his kids in the water at all, but the kids want to be in the water because it's hot and whatever. So that's actually where Jaws starts to head, and there's this old dude that's just floating around the kids, like, "Hey kids, you want to learn how to play a slip? Want to learn how to tie a slip knot?" You know what I mean? The kids are like, "Nah, bro." He's just like, "Nah, I can help you." So Jaws goes over to him and attacks the old dude, like right in front of Brody's kids.
Yep, just like chops his leg off, and the leg floats down to the bottom.
And you see it, and the music does that perfect crescendo. That you just see the leg just drop in the water. It's so out of control.
And God, I love how Michael, Brody's kid, just looks absolutely freaked the hell out.
Dude. Michael is shell shocked, dude. And at that point, Brody's had it. Brody's super had it. And Michael's at the hospital because he literally had shock. And the mayor was there, and Brody just grabbed him by his stupid anchor jacket and pulled him to a corner and said, "Look, you're gonna sign this paper. We're gonna give this man whatever the hell he wants so he could kill this shark once and for all. We're closing the beaches. That is it." And this is where you can kind of see the catharsis in the mayor. Like, "Look, man, I had kids on that beach too, dude. Like, I get it. I finally get it now." You know what I mean? And this is like the end of the second act of this film, and that's where they reintroduce Quint into the film, and they go find Quint, and he's making like dinosaur bone soup. He's making like shark mouth soup in his house, in his weird little hut.
This man is obsessed with sharks.
He ultra loves sharks so much. You look at his house; it's almost like going into like one of those people who have the evidence board in their rooms, with all the little strings. And you walk in his house like, "Oh, you must like sharks." "I love sharks." Like, I can tell. So they go talk. They go. Brody and Hooper go talk to Quint, and right off the bat, Quint does not like Hooper. He's just not feeling him, dude. There's something about him. And what's funny is that on set, Richard Dreyfuss and the actor who played Quint, let me get his name real quick, Robert Shaw, legit didn't like each other, to almost throwing blows. They had to keep them separated during filming because Quint just didn't like Dreyfuss, man. It just rubbed him the wrong way. And in real life, like Steven Spielberg was like, this is a serious problem. So that animosity bled into the role. It wasn't supposed to be that confrontational between Quint and Hooper. You know,
damn, it doesn't like add more credence to the entire film, though. You got the city college boy whose entire thing is to study sharks, and the old crazy salty dog whose entire thing is to kill sharks.
Yeah, and that it just added another level of X Factor spice to this film. Their animosity towards each other. He's like, look at your hands. You got city hands from counting money all your life. And he's like, man, you don't know me, man. You don't know my struggle, dude.
I mean, the animosity between each other does bleed over really well now that I know that kind of backstory. But at the same time, there's still a healthy amount of respect between the two of them, regardless.
Yeah. I think the respect ebbs and flows throughout the rest of this film. You know what I mean? Like at first, Quint couldn't even he wasn't even going to be on the boat with him at first. He was like, "Nah, I can't mess with him." But then Brody kind of talks him into it. You want this money, right? This is my guy. We need to be on Quint's boat together. The Orca is what he called it, to hunt down the shark. So, you know, I'm trying to think of events. The next event is pretty much Quint yelling at Hooper to tie the knot correctly. And Hooper's like, dude, I mean, I know how to do this stuff.
And then he just like feels his hands, like, you got city boy hands. You've been counting money all your life. And Hooper's just like, I'm not going to put up with this working class hero bullshit.
His working class hero crap. Oh, the old Spanish ladies.
Oh, God. He's saying that so many times. Holy crap.
Ladies of Spain.
Oh, he's saying that so often.
Receive orders to sell back to Boston. Oh, we see you again. I learned that song because at first you don't know what the hell he's singing. He's mumbling the whole thing. And I was like, I'm going to learn this song. And I was like, okay, at least I know the lyrics that he sung at that part. So I sing it to myself sometimes all the time. People are like, are you all right? Like, no, I've never been all right. So we're on the boat now. And the true movie, the other half of this movie starts. It's just them alone on an island, pretty much on a boat, and the hunt begins. The funny thing about this is that these boat shots were the most expensive to make.
I can believe that.
Because they were aerial shots, I think, and the wide shots sucked because we had to give them a sense of isolation. So you never see any other boats around Quint's boat. You only see Quint's boat in the shot. And the problem is that working on the water is one of the hardest things to do ever.
Yeah, because if anything goes wrong, it might slip into the water and just destroy thousands and thousands of dollars of equipment.
Of equipment. And one cool thing is that boats would constantly kind of float into the shot. And back then, you couldn't just digitally remove that. They had to do the shot completely over again at that time of day while the sun was out. So it would just wreck whole days of shooting if anything interfered with that clean shot. May it be a plane in the background, may it be some passing ship, because they didn't have authorization to close out that particular part of the ocean. People just passed through. It's like filming on a freeway. You know what I mean? So this is what costs the movie so much money. It's like we just can't get these boat shots right because stuff happens. It gets late in the day. It starts to rain. Like all types of crazy stuff would happen during the filming of the exterior shots of the boat. Brody on the chum line, throwing out the chum, looking for the shark. And one of the most famous scenes of the movie, Brody's chumming. And he's just like, hey, you want to get, we might as well get Quint down here to chum. And he's like talking crap with a cigarette in his mouth behind his back. And this is the only time one of the first times in the entire film, you get a clean shot of the shark.
Yes. And it is just like silent. It just comes up for a little bit, kind of splashes, splash. And Brody just sits bolt upright and starts walking backward very slowly till he goes up to Quint. And Quint's like, doesn't say anything. You just kind of notice Brody's there, and Brody just says, "I think you're going to need a bigger boat."
That line is ad-libbed. He made that up on the spot.
That's okay. Yeah, congratulations to him, because that's actually a really good line.
The best line of the film. It's the tagline. And like you said, there was no musical indicator that was going to happen. It was quiet. There was no reason for that. There was no. He didn't tell the audience that was going to happen. There's nothing leading to it. The shark just quietly breached the water, and you see Brody just stiff as a board, deadpan, right back up. Love that shot, the way it was done. And he starts walking backwards, and Hooper just kind of pays attention to him. He's like, "Yeah, man, we're going to need a bigger boat." He kind of trails off. And then,
like, Hooper just goes, "That's a 20-footer." Quint just goes, 25.
3 tons of them. You know what I mean?
And then there's that entire, like, shuffle where they trying to, like, bang a barrel onto the shark.
Yeah.
Which is a really cool little scene of, like, Quint lining up the shot with the harpoon gun, getting the barrel tied up and whatnot. And I didn't realize that that's a legit fishing strategy for hunting sharks down.
Yep, back in the day. I think they still do it. Some people still do it now.
Yeah, there's no way. A little barrel catch at the prow of the ship.
Yep. And every time they lock one, another barrel, he's like, there's no way he can dive with 2 barrels on him. There's absolutely no way. But the shark goes around the boat, and the barrel gets caught on one side of the boat, and the shark is literally, with his strength, pulling the boat. Like, this is one badass shark, dude.
Yeah, that happens the next day, I believe. Yeah.
Ah, okay. Yeah. So they lose the shark, right? They put barrels. He's like, we got barrels on him now, so he's not going to be that hard to track. You know what I mean? We'll be able to see where he's at. So we get to that night, and they're all at the bottom of the ship drinking, and
they're trading, like, tattoo stories and scars and
scar stories, dude. Yeah,
and it's just hilarious. Up till they talk about, like, a tattoo removal that Quint had, and Hooper makes fun of it, and then he says that's from the USS Indianapolis, and Hooper just goes, "Whoa, you're from the Indianapolis?" And Brody's just kind of going, "What's that? Fill me in, because I am the audience member here." And it's just like that really cool retelling with, like, really silent background of Quint going to the real life event of 1,100 Marines trapped on a ship that sunk and losing like 700 dudes to sharks.
There's a movie trope called The Telling of the Tale, where there's always that one old guy who's sitting there, Friday the 13th. That's Camp Blood. You'll die if you stay. There's always that one guy, right? So there's The Telling of the Tale movie trope. And this is probably the top 5 Telling of the Tales of all time, where Quint is just kind of mournfully recounting the tale of his boys being on the USS Indianapolis, being in the water and being huddled around each other for warmth, because he was like, it wasn't just the sharks that got us, it was exposure. It was seawater poisoning from guys getting so exhausted they tried drinking the water and killing themselves. Mm-hmm. In between the sharks picking them off one by one, he said you'll just hear a faint scream in the distance. You know what I mean? See the water just starts running red out of nowhere. You didn't notice that your boy just got picked off. He said they were out there for like hours you know what I mean? until help came.
I think they're there for like a few days, honestly.
Yeah, like days, dude. Crazy. And ever since then, he was like, this is what I do now. I will spend the rest of my life, killing sharks because fuck sharks, dude. That's
it's so wild that they use like this facet of true life history to give like a credible backstory and drive for the salty dog character.
And that's the point where Hooper and Quint find equal footing with each other. You know what I mean? They find a new respect for each other.
And I like how there's also like a little aside to Brody as he checks his stomach for scars, and we don't know anything about it afterwards. Like, there's nothing.
Nah, they don't tell you.
And I really dig that, because sometimes there just has to be enough mystery to make things delectable, and that is good storytelling.
This movie, man. This movie is just too real, man. So after that, like I was alluding to earlier, the shark just reappears and starts attacking the ship's hull, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it gets to the point where it causes enough damage for the power to be temporarily disabled. And the fellas have to start working on the ship so they can get power. This is the slow destruction of Quint's boat. This poor boat, dude. You know.
Yeah, it's destroyed pretty quickly, and they take time to fire another harpoon, another barrel into it, and it goes down with 2 barrels underwater. And Quint's just like, yeah, that's the limit. That's what we're going to do. Then to spend like the next day fixing the boat, and right. Brody's sitting there being watch out, and then he sees the barrels come back, and he's like, it's back, Quint, it's back.
Yeah, he starts freaking out about it.
And then that's like where the climax starts to kind of slowly ramp up for the final encounter as well.
Yep, because Brody then attempts to call the Coast Guard to say, hey, man, we need some help. Our ship's falling apart. And this is where Quint just loses it. Quint literally goes Captain Ahab and destroys the equipment to call out to this Coast Guard. He's like, no, the shark's mine. No one else is getting the shark but me. And he's like, are you crazy? And Quint's just ignoring everyone.
Yes, I am crazy.
Yeah, he's lost it. He's not even paying attention to the rest of the team. He's just trying to hunt this shark. And now we're at the crescendo of the film where the shark is literally tearing them apart. They're ill-equipped to handle this thing. You know?
Oh my God, it's so terrible.
The way it all goes down is almost like a cartoon. It's really crazy, you know?
Yeah. And of course they fire a 3rd barrel into it. And guess what? It goes underwater. And Quint actually starts to look afraid, like, oh, no other shark has ever done this before. Oh God.
Oh God. Like, you start to see that swagger break at that point, because he's like, this is not real. Sharks don't do that. What kind of shark is this?
Yeah, this is a freaking monster. That's what it is.
Yeah. And at that point, water is starting to fill up. The engines are starting to get sogged out.
And the music is just quiet enough. It's there in the background just to keep ramping up tension every like other scene.
Yep. And this is where they get the idea that Hooper breaks out the scuba gear and brings out the shark-proof cage and tries to get into the water to inject the shark with like some kind of poison.
Yeah, and of course the shark just destroys the cage. Hooper barely makes it out without being attacked.
I thought Hooper died. Like, I legit thought Hooper was killed in that moment, because they're very coy with it, because you don't see Hooper again to the very end of the movie.
Well, they show him swimming down to the bottom of the reef and just hiding.
Oh yeah. You're right.
Like, it's the dude took the coward's way out, the smart way out. Fuck this. I'm gonna wait till that thing swims away.
Super smart. I would do the same thing. What are you gonna do? Fight it? What is he, Jason Statham? You know,
yeah. He stabbed it in the nose, and guess what? That's the way to make a shark run away.
Yep.
The shark didn't run away. It just kept going even harder.
Because that shark was on a mission, man. So
it's gone rogue.
So then the shark attacks the boat directly, and we get that shot of the shark pretty much, yeah.
It just beaches onto the boat.
Yeah. And the boat starts to tip towards the shark's mouth. It's almost like a trap, you know, like one of those, you know, haunted mansion traps where you have to slide down the corridor into the pit. And Quint is sliding. It just slides into the shark's mouth like a slice of pizza, dude. He's just like,
and I will admit, the screams he makes are pretty legit.
Yeah, he is belting, and you see like a little bit of blood spurt from his mouth because the shark is literally chomping his torso.
And he starts stabbing with machete over and over again, and the shark does not let up at all.
Shark's not moving, dude. Quint gets it ultra hard in this movie, dude.
And he just goes quietly into that good night. He just kind of sinks down to the water. He's never seen again.
Man, and
honestly, Quint kind of deserved that because he was quickly becoming the second antagonist with his actions against Brody and Hooper, honestly. He was a secondary antagonist at that point.
Quint did get what was coming to him because if he was smart and he was patient, they would have survived that day. But he needed to get his trophy. He needed to get the shark of it. I'm sure that Quint saw this as the shark of his life. This is the shark. This is the fight. This is his Moby Dick, you know?
Oh, yeah. The Ahab reference you made earlier with him is completely apt because this man is basically Captain Ahab. He's so obsessed, he's nonsensical to everyone else around him.
Yep. And he's got to the point where he's beyond reproach and beyond reasoning. So what do you do with a person like that? You give him what he wants. He wanted the shark. He got it.
Got it super hard.
So Brody gets the idea to then shove a pressurized scuba tank in the shark's mouth to get it to go away. You know what I mean? Like to do something. He was just like got it into his mouth, and the shark swam a little out to shore. And the ship is completely sunk at this point. It's just about to sink. One thing lasting really is the crow's nest that Brody climbs up to with almost like a rifle he has, right? Like it's just straight rifle. And he gets the eye of the shark. He sees that tank shining in the light from the reflection of the sun. And you get that perfect smile, you son of a, and he shoots it in crazy fashion. The shark literally explodes.
It explodes to basically it becomes chum itself.
It becomes atomized, man. It's freeze. Its cell at the end of the Cell games just turning into dust. You know?
God.
It's the wackiest scene ever.
It is a perfect being blown a bit.
It is a perfect being being destroyed by an immense blast.
Oh my God. I did not expect the DBZ reference to that. I did not expect that at all.
No, all you're going to see when Cell is walking up to Gohan is da-da, da-da.
I mean, they do look to eat people.
Yes, they do. Oh my goodness. Bruce is just Cell, dude.
He's the perfect killing machine.
He's the perfect killing machine, dog.
Oh God, this is
dumb. He has all the DNA of all the aquatic animals mixed into one. You make some Bruce, dog.
Oh God. I do like though how whenever the Bruce dies, Hooper shows up again. He's like, "Hey, I'm back! Ha ha!
Hey, ha ha! I made it!"
It's like, Hooper, you suck.
Hooper, you did nothing. You know
and
what?
Of course, then there's like that last final shot of them basically jerry-rigging two barrels together with some flotsam and kicking to land. And freaking Brody's like, I don't hate the water so much anymore.
Water's not that bad. As they're swimming, God knows how far out into the ocean they were.
I mean, you could see like a lighthouse in the far distance when they're on the way back to shore with the shark chasing them in one scene.
That's at least like 5 miles, man.
That could be just nautical miles away.
You know how hard that is to do.
Oh, it's terrible.
You might die, dude. Just from your body just atrophying and you just sinking to Davy Jones's locker, man.
So as the movie comes to a close, there's like that one more like shot of the beach with all the credits and whatnot, and that's the end of the summer blockbuster, the July 4th blockbuster Jaws, which set movie history. That
is Jaws. This movie, unfortunately, was the birth of the summer blockbuster because then it got sequels and silly sequel after silly sequel. We got Jaws: The Revenge.
Didn't like Back to the Future Part 2 have like a Jaws 10 or 12?
At Jaws 3D.
3D, yeah, Jaws 3D, 13 3D, something like that.
Yep. And
God, it was so silly.
So stupid. And the giant cartoonish 3D shark comes to bite McFly. McFly freaks out because he's like, what the hell is that?
Oh, yeah, the hologram shark.
Yeah. Jaws was heavily marketed this was the birth of the movie franchise / blockbuster, like true birth of it. It had multiple sequels from Jaws: The Revenge to Jaws 3D.
And then like Son of Jaws.
Which, of course, without Jaws, you wouldn't have films like Lake Placid or Sharknado or, it's the granddaddy, dude.
Oh, my God. You could argue without Jaws, we wouldn't have things like Friday the 13th or Nightmare on Elm Street, because he kind of did put out there more so the realistic-looking horror side of movies again.
I see that in a different light. Like, I think Nightmare on Elm Street, for example, would have not been as big without Jaws, because Jaws set the standard for that horror movie blockbuster where people in droves are going to come out to Madison Square Garden, to 42nd Street, to the Chinese theater to go see these movies over and over again and create that buzz and create the opportunity for sequels.
Yeah.
It's kind of nutty how much this movie changed Hollywood and how successful it was and what it did for Steven Spielberg's career. You know what I mean?
Made him the most successful director in Hollywood. That's what it did.
Yeah, right. And everyone wanted to work with him because he literally he turned shit into sugar. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yeah.
With this film, because this movie was damned, guys. You don't understand how close this movie was to just failing. And it turned itself around and became one of the best movies of all time. Amazing.
Yeah, it's utterly fantastic. So how would you rate this movie? Like on a star overall, how would you rate this movie?
It's still a star system, 5 stars, right? 5 stars is godlike, next level film. You would show this to aliens if they ever came to Earth. 0 is if you found this in a dumpster at the park, you probably take a piss on it and then keep walking. I would rate this a 5. This is a damn near perfect movie.
I have to agree with you. This is damn near perfect because this has the music, the acting's actually pretty great,
the suspense,
and the effects. It's just really good storytelling in general.
Storytelling. I was just going to say that. It's aces. It's the quintessential summer movie. It's bright. There's no dark shadows. You know what I mean? Like even though Bruce is very, very rarely seen in this film, they're not cutting any corners. When you see Bruce, he looks amazing. You know what I mean? The POV shots, the score. It's just it's infallible. This movie's infallible, man.
Yeah, it's so nice seeing this because it's like a monster movie into itself too. Yeah. Like instead of like Godzilla or King Kong or things like that, it's more of like a natural predator.
That's what makes it so scary, is that it's real. You know, like it's a shark. These are things that exist out there. There's a shark floating around right now. Godzilla, if he is real, he's asleep, dude. You don't have to worry about him. But real life, documented creature that will come and eat you, it's primordial. It tings that part of your brain that's afraid of giant cats. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Your ancestor being chased by a mountain lion, you know what I mean, in real life and dying. It tings that part of your instinctual, fear or flight response.
Yeah, predatory fear. That's what it is.
Yes, sharks are legit real, and if you're in the ocean, there's a 0.5% chance you'll be just like you said. There's a very low chance of being actually involved in a shark attack. But you know what, guys? It happens. It's happened. It will happen again.
Yeah, not all so fatal, but it does happen occasionally.
Yep. And if you don't think we're telling the truth, just buy a book. Go to the library. Check out Shark Attack Aftermath. You'll see just whole slithers of people's legs just shredded off like a cheese grater.
Oh God, yeah.
I
like how Brody did that in the movie, and all he didn't even read articles. He just like went through pictures like a fucking child.
Yeah, he said, "What does this look like? The bite I saw. Does this look like the same thing?" And he was like, "Yeah."
It's like, dead person.
Dead person. Nice. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh boy.
Oh boy. So, any passing thoughts on this film before we close this bad boy out?
I think that just honestly, this movie did so much for movies in general. It just is priceless and timeless in its effects and its grandiose nature for everyone who's a movie fan, honestly. It just has everything that did it right, that continues to do so right up to this day, which is like little things that need to be updated here and there, to be fair. But overall, it's just a joy to watch over and over again, even to this like day and age. Like, what is it, 45 years later?
Yep. This is one of those films that you show a person who wants to get into this genre. You know what I mean? It's like showing someone Psycho for the first time. You know?
Oh, yeah.
It's up there where it's like, oh, you want to know what this is all about? You want to know where this came from? You want to know how to do this right? Okay, just give me 2 hours and let's watch Jaws. And they will be like, oh, I see why people love this movie. It's just that iconic. It's that it means that much to film, not just suspense films or quote unquote horror films, because this is not necessarily a scary movie, but it does get under your skin, and that's horror. And that is horror.
Oh yeah, I mean better than Jaws 4.
Oh geez, we're not going to talk about the sequels. Yeah. So Austin Ozzy, where can we find you, man?
All right, so you can find me also every other Sunday or so on Twitch. That is Austin Ozzy at Twitch with Mike here and his co-host Winter and our other friend Brant as we play D&D. And we're having a good old adventure there. Yeah. And we're going to wrap up that campaign, I believe, in a few sessions and move on to my 1920s detective campaign.
I get to wear a suit, guys.
Yes,
awesome.
You get to be a really bad medical practitioner like in this movie.
Yeah, man. I'm just going to lie.
I'm also on Twitter, I mean. Austin Halsey on Twitter. Yeah, that's where you can catch me and like occasionally here every once in a while.
Yes, this is going to be on our Twitter page, which is at mnerdiverse, where you can find all of our content. We do polls as a social experiment for all of our visitors and for our podcast community. You can also join our Patreon, which is MOTN/Patreon, where if you wanted to support the channel, you can, help us buy new fancy hats. Because one thing that MOTN is fueled on is pop culture and fancy hats.
Also, little mounts and minions from Final Fantasy XIV storefront, please.
Please, guys, help me. I am power training through Stormblood so I can get into Shadowbringers.
It's really good.
I'm leveling a samurai right now because I wanted to level samurai. So if you see me out there, if you follow our D&D, then I'm sure you know the name of my Final Fantasy VII character. So for those smart detectives out there, I'll catch you outside.
I'll catch you outside.
How about that?
Oh, God.
A little bit. I've, of course, been your host, Mike G. And I'll always ask you to look towards the skies. Look towards the skies.